I worked with a guy by the name of Dori Monson. So he works on KIRO Radio, does a talk show from noon to 3 p.m. He's a right-wing talk show host. Always nice to me. I never had a problem with him. I came on his show a bunch of times. I was only there for about 6 months or so. I went on his show several times, and as a reporter covering stories, he'd have me on. Always treated me nice. Always treated me with respect. I'll be honest with you. I never thought he was very good at what he did. Never did. I never thought he was talented. And by the way, there are right-wing conservative talk show hosts out there. And I say to myself, I can understand why people listen to them. Never thought that with this guy. Because, right-wing talking points, dry, boring, not funny, not entertaining. I remember he did one skit, or he tried to do skits, where he ate a KFC sandwich on the air, and he thought that was funny. This is like 15 years ago. I'm like, this is what this guy does? You think that's entertaining? I don't know. It's weird. I mean, maybe he wanted to do the stuff that Howard Stern did and throw baloney at strippers. I don't know. I don't know. Dori never did stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. I just never thought he was very good as a radio host. Nice guy. Always treated me with respect. Never thought he was really good on the air. You can be a nice guy. I could like you and not think you're good at your job. So Dori Monson has been suspended indefinitely by Bonneville, Seattle. He also hosts the Seahawks pre- and post-game show. So, he had a relationship with the Seahawks as well. So he also hosts the daily show, as I mentioned, noon to 3 on KIRO. I want you to read a tweet, or I will read. I want you to listen. You can't read from the studio. I want you to listen to this tweet. This is what he said. He said, quote, "We follow science in Washington, the state where I could go to Olympia tomorrow and change my birth certificate to say I was a girl on 10/2/61. Ha, 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 ha." I think most people would agree that's inappropriate. You're making fun of the transgender community. Pretty stupid. It'd be one thing if you said something like that inappropriate in jest when you were having a few beers with some friends. It's another thing when you represent the station and you represent a company and you tweet something like that out and you represent, in a sense, the Seattle Seahawks doing the pre- and post-game show, and you represent KIRO Radio. By the way, there are a lot of liberal cities in this country.
That's a big station, too.
There are a lot of liberal cities in this country. It is a big station.
Yeah, they do
Seattle
well.
is a liberal city.
It is probably, okay. It might be the most liberal city in the country.
So this is something that
at this point.
Yeah, this is something that I find that is very cowardly. As you know, when hosts from certain shows get suspended or fired, usually you'll have a statement from somebody, whether it's the general manager, the program director, somebody who represents the company, right? They'll come out with some sort of statement.
Sure.
And maybe they'll say something like, this person's views don't represent our views on the gay community. They don't represent, he's wrong in what he did. We don't condone what he said. Somebody will come out and say something. Sorry if he offended anybody. And usually the host will do that too. Not only has Dori Monson not apologized, but they're not even making a statement, those cowards at that radio station. That's what they are. They're cowards. Their only statement they made is, we don't comment on, personal issues with staff. What are you talking about? If somebody does something wrong and somebody on your staff offends people, many companies come out with statements. They can absolutely come out with a statement if they wanted to. So they've suspended him, but they have not fired him for this. Now, I understand there's a lot of people out there that are against the cancel culture, but yet Donald Trump has said the same stuff. He's been for the cancel culture. Anyone that goes after him, boom, wants them fired. Wants them done, wants their business to go down the toilet. So I ask you all this question because this is important. If you have a host, a talk show host on a radio station.
Now, is he a brokerage show or is he paid by the station?
He's paid by the station.
Okay. That's a little different.
I asked this question. If you are a paid employee at a radio station and you make a statement like he made on Twitter, basically mocking someone for being transgender. That's exactly what he did. He goes on social media, he does that. My question to you is, number one, do you think he did something wrong? Do you think it was wrong what he did? Number two, do you think the station's done enough? Do you think they should come out with a statement? Do you think they should fire him? Number three, do you think Dori Monson, the Seahawks radio host, should apologize publicly? Those are the three questions I ask our listeners now. The number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. I think context is everything here.
I think the story makes me think of the show Kingpin.
Well, I think
because of Roy Monson.
That's true. You pulled a Monson. That's true. That's a great movie.
An outstanding movie.
So I think context matters. I'm trying to remember the radio host that made fun of the female black reporter at ESPN. I don't remember his name.
You're talking the one in Chicago?
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about it. I can't remember.
I don't remember his name.
He wasn't a big name.
But context matters. Here's what I mean by that.
When he called her a hooker for wearing
basically
that dress.
But context. I'm bringing up
a porn star, I guess.
But I'm bringing it up for context because he never apologized. In fact, he attacked people on social media. He didn't apologize for what he did. If Dori Monson came out and immediately said, "Boy, did I F up. I'm so sorry if I offended anyone. I'm going to learn from this. I'll take whatever's coming to me. I deserve it." I would say, you know what? The guy showed a little bit of class there. Don't fire him. Give him a warning. Suspend him for 2 weeks. Let the guy continue his job. But he hasn't done that. And I'm so sick of these hosts and these people in the media. They have such egos, they can't even apologize.
Well, I think it's very possible that he maybe didn't break any rules. I mean, if there's a specific guideline that says that everything that you post on social media is an extension of KIRO Radio, and you're open to discipline or losing your job or some type
when
of
you are on social media
for doing that. Well, you don't know what that there may not be a contract in place.
It doesn't have to be a contract.
Well, I think that there probably doesn't.
No, I'm telling you. No, it doesn't. I'm telling you how it works.
And that might not be why there hasn't been any kind of response from KIRO Radio or Dori Monson.
I'm telling you, first of all, obviously he did something wrong or he wouldn't have been suspended 2 weeks. That's number one. So that let's just put that to bed right there. Obviously he did something wrong. They wouldn't have suspended him for 2 weeks. And number two, whether there's something in your contract or not, they have the right to fire you for cause if you do something that makes the station look bad. You represent the station. You do a show on the station. If you go on the air and say something homophobic, or you go on the air that does slut shaming, like the guy did in Chicago, then absolutely the company has the right to fire you because it makes you look bad. If we went on social media today and said something homophobic about somebody, the station would have the right to do something about that. So that's my opinion on it. I think that the fact that this man hasn't apologized for saying something that to me is homophobic, and I'm going to read it one more time, and then we'll take your calls at 257-5396. This is Dori Monson, Seahawks radio host and a talk show host on 97.3 KIRO in Seattle. Quote, "We follow science in Washington, the state where I could go to Olympia tomorrow and change my birth certificate to say I was a girl on 10/2/61. Ha, 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 ha. Ladies and gentlemen, here's my opinion. This is why you don't hire conservative radio talk show hosts to cover sports. Look at what happened to Rush Limbaugh. He was fired from ESPN for making racist comments about black football quarterbacks."